Once a week, we connect live to a correspondent overseas who fills us in on K-culture issues in their country. Now today we will talk about K-fashion, which has been expanding its presence in the global fashion market, including in Australia. We are now connected to our K-correspondent, fashion writer Alexandra Feiam in Australia. Hello, Alexandra.
Hello, Alexandra.
Hi, lovely to be here.
Thanks for joining us. Now, Alexandra, can you please first off tell us a little bit about yourself as well as your interest in Korea? And also, we heard you were quite surprised by Koreans' passion for fashion. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I have been interested in fashion for as long as I can remember, specifically fashion history, but also emerging trends and what everyone is wearing. So I've always been quite in touch with what's going on. So honestly, I'm not surprised by Korea's passion for fashion. I think that Korean style, the influence of beauty, fashion, and culture is so immense, innovative, and something that I think the West hasn't seen before. So it's quite surprising for a lot of people that there's this emergence of this sort of secret underground culture that maybe they hadn't heard of, but it is so powerful and so influential. So it's been amazing to see it rising up over the last few years.
So now we want to talk about Australians and K-fashion, Australians and fashion first. So Walter, I want to ask you first.
Yes.
When you were in Australia, were you into fashion? And also, did things change for you when you came to Korea?
Absolutely not. When I was in Australia, I used to wear singlets, short shorts, and thongs, or we call them thongs, but they're called flip-flops. So I had zero interest in fashion, but now it's different.
It's different, I
Yes.
see. Okay, well, now let's ask the expert, Alexandra, in general. Are Australians big fashion lovers or not? And also, where do they do their shopping?
Well, it's quite a big question because Australia is such a huge country. And so every city has its own take on what they think is fashionable. I'm from Melbourne, so we take our fashion quite seriously. A lot of people don't care, but those that do really, really do. And within each city, every suburb, which is the small pockets of each city, they have their own style as well. So we've really developed something distinctive in this country. Because we're so far away, it takes a long time for the fashion trends to come to Australia. So we've had to rely on ourselves to sort of create something. But we do have a lot of influences from Korean fashion that maybe people don't realize. Particularly in Melbourne, we love a lot of streetwear. So we love oversized jumpers and hoodies, sweatshirts, big puffer jackets, tracksuit pants, that sort of thing, a lot of black. Melbourne wears a lot of black as well. So we have got our own distinctive style, but we have a lot of influences from around the world. So, yeah.
And continuing with that influence, especially the K-fashion influence, as the Korean wave is spreading worldwide, K-fashion is also gradually taking over. So as a fashion writer, do you really see this happening around you?
Oh, absolutely. So in Melbourne, we're very much a fashion-forward city. We love shopping. And so if you go to some of the big places where we like to shop, like the city, the CBD, and in shopping centers like Chadstone, you're going to see a lot of Korean brands coming through. One shop that just opened up in Chadstone was Gentle Monster, and it blew me away because I've never seen such an immersive and incredible exhibition as that shop front. You know, there's incredible artwork there that people will just stop and stare. And it's something that we've never really seen before. So this is the sort of thing that I am expecting to see more in Australia. And especially as Korean pop culture, fashion, music, and beauty is continuing to grow in popularity, really brands and people have no choice but to see it and to embrace it because it's incredible. Why wouldn't you want to embrace it?
I completely agree with you. As a guy from Brisbane, we are the least fashionable people out of the three big cities. So how popular is K-fashion in Australia, and through which routes are Australians exposed to Korean fashion, do you think?
Well, obviously we have this massive explosion of social media. So TikTok, Instagram, even like YouTube, just watching film clips and influencers that explore different styles have really, really influenced what we see today. And then obviously you're going to get the big ones like Blackpink, you're going to have New Jeans. They completely dominate not only the everyday fashion world, but also luxury fashion. So you see people like Rosé, who I know is from New Zealand, but was raised in Melbourne and did go to my high school. So we have a connection. But you'll see a lot of K-pop idols like Rosé and Jennie and Lisa that are just dominating every single aspect of the world and, well, in terms of pop culture. And so it's natural to see it in fashion as well. So the more people are exposed to things like that on Spotify, TikTok, even on TV and film, we're seeing a lot of actresses coming out of the K-pop scene. It's just all influencing the way people want to dress, how they see themselves. And of course, they want to mimic that style. Who wouldn't want to look like Jennie? Seriously.
Right.
I completely understand that, and I know that like brands like H&M as well as Uniqlo, they're all very popular within all the cities now. But how well are Korean fashion brands and known in Australia, and what are some of the unique features that make them so popular?
Yeah, so a lot of, in Melbourne particularly, in the city, we have a lot of little boutiques that are popping up in Melbourne Central. They've been around for a long time, and I can't name them all off the top of my head, but I can see them in my head because there are so many of them, and they all have their own unique and distinctive style. So that just is something that we don't really see here because there are so many brands like H&M and Zara and mainstream brands that sort of dominate everything. But then you'll see some extra brands coming through, like Rock, which is a massive influence in Melbourne specifically. There are some suburbs where people dress in a very quiet luxury aesthetic. So that brand is very influential, and they may not realize it, but other brands will take designs from everywhere, including Korean fashion as well. And then you have street style, and you have a lot of street wear that is incredibly influential in Australia. And then you'll also have brands like Gentle Monster, which are a bit more of an avant-garde, a little bit more of a luxury brand. But because they've just come crashing in and they are disrupting what we've seen before, it's just, I'm going to expect to see a lot more brands like that popping up. And they'll be really popular too, because people are excited to see something new, something fresh. And yeah, I think Australia is definitely going to be taking a big front class seat on the Korean fashion train.
Right. And Alexandra, you touched upon this before, but let's talk about those idols. Many young Australians are said to be influenced by the K-pop idols' fashion, and many of the K-pop idols also are active as fashion brand ambassadors in many cases for luxurious brands. So how do you assess this trend, and how much influence do they have on the fashion industry, you say?
They do have quite a big influence on the fashion industry. As I've been saying, the last few years, the influence of K-fashion, K-pop have really started to bubble. And it was quite underground for a long time, but now it's hit the mainstream. So you are going to see a lot of designers like Dior and like Saint Laurent and Tiffany & Co. that have typically never really gone too much into the pop culture side of things. Really, they've done it more recently, but now they're really pushing into other markets as well. So K-pop is obviously the best choice because there are so many beautiful people with incredible style that they can use, that they can have as the face of their brand, and that are loved by a lot of young fans. And I think that targeting young fans is a really important thing when it comes to these luxury brands because they are quite expensive. It's going to be hard for young people to buy them because they don't have disposable income. But if they see someone that they love, like Rosé wearing a beautiful Tiffany & Co necklace, they're going to aspire to be like that. So maybe they'll save up and try and buy a piece of jewelry or something like that. And sunglasses and beauty and things that are a little bit more accessible are also really, really fantastic moves for stars like in idols from the K-pop scene to feature as the face of a brand. So you're going to be more likely to see a beautiful pair of Chanel sunglasses or something on a person down the street than a full head-to-toe Chanel outfit. So this is the sort of thing we're going to see more often. And another thing that I'd like to say is that everyday styles, just walking down the street, it doesn't have to be luxury. So I spoke about New Jeans before, but an idol like Minji, with the way she dresses with her little crop shirts and big jackets, big pants, you see that everywhere in Melbourne and in Australia as well. It is so massive that you don't even realize it because it's become quite mainstream. And obviously there are influences everywhere. But it's quite phenomenal to see, especially the young people really just embracing this trend.
And very briefly, Alexandra, do you think Seoul or Korea could become a next fashion mecca, just like London, Tokyo, or New York or Paris?
Absolutely. I don't see why not. I mean, we're seeing so much potential and incredible talent coming out of Korea. I don't know why people wouldn't just say, all right, let's stop over and see what they've got. Because it's just obviously there is so much innovation and exciting things that we haven't seen before. And it's coming to a point where sometimes fashion is very cyclical. So you do see the same things over and over again over a period of time. So when something new comes in that's exciting and fresh, it is natural for people to want to gravitate towards it. So I think that if it doesn't become one of the big four or maybe part of the big five in the next 10 years, I think that there's a big opportunity that's been missed. So I guarantee it will be.
Let's see what the future holds for K-fashion. Thank you very much, Alexandra, for your fashionable insights today.
Thank you, Alexandra.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you, Walter. We'll see you back next week.
We'll see you next week.